So girls, a few things to point out before you start. Now, even though this tile is fired to 1000 degrees, it's still porous, which means it still absorbs liquids like your underglazes. Because it's still porous, it's still fragile. So lift it with your two hands, set it down with your two hands gently so that you don't chip the edges. You want all the tiles to be able to fit together in the sequence. Now, you all have a background colour that links in with the tiles around it. So before you start, think about what areas you want to highlight. You want to keep some of them the same so that it still links in with the tile beside you. And then you want to decide which section you're going to paint, sponge or splatter. So the first thing that we considered whenever we're talking about the demo was outline. So you can simply take your brush, wipe it on the edge of your pot like you do whenever you're watercolour painting, and go around the edge. Now, you will see after a while that it dries out a lot quicker, and that's because the underglaze absorbs into the tile and you're left with a lighter colour. So you do have to go over it twice. So my advice is do all the tile that you want to underline once and then go over it again. The only thing I have to say is you don't want too much a build up with colour, because if you do that, I then have to put this glossy glaze over the top of it, and if there's too much glaze in a concentrated area, the glaze crawls, and that means that it pulls away from the actual tile and sits in little blobs, which leaves this rough surface, which isn't ideal for outside use. Okay, so that's just a little observation. But now when you're using the sponges and the brushes, there shouldn't be a problem with putting it on too thickly. Maybe just if you're splattering it on, be careful, limit the areas that you're going to put it on. So the first example was just a rough outline. Now if you want to emphasize the raised areas of your tile, if you have any, another idea is just using a small little sponge. If your sponge is bigger, just take a pair of scissors and cut it in half, and then pressing down into your underglaze, wipe it at the edge so you don't have excess, and gently go round, see there, go around the raised areas, and it leaves a lovely mottled effect. So that's another idea. You can also go back to your paintbrush, and instead of just drawing a line, you could, on the raised areas, you could do a series of dots, or like Matisse's cat and fish picture, you could add in zigzags. And again, you can think about what is it that your tile was, what message was it trying to say. So you can see how that lightened down after I painted it. So you know just to go back over it again. All right. And you don't have to stick to the one colour. You'll probably have maybe 2 or 3 options of colour for your tile. See? Okay, so that's the outline considered. You also have the option of using a sponge and sponging away excess colour. This is quite nice if you have got a lot of embossed detail. So again, taking your tiny sponge or your paintbrush actually, and go into the little cracks where you've embossed. Actually, I'll use the sponge. All right, so you're going into the little cracks there. Then you're taking a larger sponge, you're dipping it in water. Now squeeze off the excess water, or it'll remove all the underglaze which you don't want. All you want to do here then is lightly go over, maybe 3 or 4 times over the surface, and you'll notice now that the raised surface is left bare and all your detail of your embossed area is highlighted in the little cracks. So that's another option. So that's your outline considered. Now the next thing that was considered was a solid block of colour. So I'm just going to move this away, set this down. Right, so there's different shapes of sponges. So here I have a circular sponge, and again First of all, I'm going to dip it into the lighter colour. All right, and remember to squeeze off the excess water, otherwise if you don't, this is what will happen. And you've got no detail and you don't pick the lovely sponge effect off it. So I'll do this again for you. Squeeze off the excess and very lightly touch the surface. And this will probably work better if you have larger areas of flat surface, okay? And then you can take a smaller sponge and with a darker colour you can place over the top of your lighter one. So darker colours will be noticed on top of lighter colours, not the other way around. Now you don't have to stop there. You can then get your paintbrush, again going back to the outline, and emphasise the area where it joins, and maybe put in a few more dots. This could be, I don't know which planet, is it Saturn that has got, maybe it's not Saturn, that has got, is there a planet that has 11 moons? Just tell me, girls. I'm not very good with my astronomy and astrology. So that is the sponge technique. Another idea now for the solid color. We've got a different shape here. So if, for example, you were working on one of the world tiles, this would look like a wave. Now obviously I don't have the blue here, but I suppose you could use any color. And you could use it in a sequence. So again, pressing light. So it's just emphasizing a water scene. Sorry, mine's is drying up here. I might try this. Oh, there you go. I forgot to squeeze. I was giving you examples of what not to do there. Okay. Right. Now, so that's your outline, your solid block of colour. And the last thing that I want to demonstrate now is the splatter technique. And I have some toothbrushes for you to use. So you want to work close to the tile. If you work too far away, it could go over yourself and your friends and everybody around you. Mr. Delilah. So if you find that your underglaze is drying out, just take a little bit of water from your water pot and add it in. It can work okay, as long as you're not watering it down too much. Otherwise the strength of the colour will disappear and you'll not really notice the detail that you've added to your bisqueware tile. Okay, so you want to come close. Now if you want to just splatter a little area of your tile, you can just get a little bit of paper, set it down, and taking your toothbrush up close, start at one side of the toothbrush and flick your way across. All right. Then if you wanted to come away slightly further, just to give a lighter emphasis, not too far away, you see that. Now you can use different colours. So we can use the black with that, and it gives it a nice spacey look. So whenever you lift the tile then, or sorry, your paper, it's just in this one specific area. Now you can use your brush as well, and I'll demonstrate now. Just one flick. All right, definitely looks like a Jackson Pollock now. Don't think I'll make as much money with it though. The only thing about this is if there is too much paint on your paintbrush, it could gather pools of glaze, which is what you don't want, because remember originally I showed you this crawling technique and it pulled away. It should be okay as long as your glaze isn't too thick and you haven't put too much on your brush. Enough obviously so that it'll splatter, but not too much. So girls, I think that's all I need to demonstrate now. Good luck, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the tiles back here.